Hey everybody, welcome back to Mystifying Miracles. I am Kristen and I search out true stories every week and they always contain at least one miracle. So if you like true stories with happy endings, listen along and we are going to get started. Maria Belon, if I'm not pronouncing that right, I apologize, and her husband, Enrique Alvarez, and their 3 sons were vacationing for their Christmas holiday on December 26th, 2004. They had a beautiful beachfront resort, also another hard pronunciation for me, Khao Lak, Thailand. They were just having a good time. It was very peaceful, relaxing, and just good family time all together. And then all of a sudden, on that December 26th, humongous waves came crashing into the shore. And unfortunately, unbeknownst to the family, and to everyone else, that would become known as the Indian Ocean Tsunami that unfortunately was just about to wreak havoc. And when that tsunami hit, the whole family ended up being separated from each other. Enrique Alvarez and 2 of his sons were separated from each other and drifted away from Maria and her younger son. Maria would find herself stuck in a tree, and along with her in that tree would be her son Lucas, who was the oldest boy of the 3 sons. And once that water did start to recede back into the ocean, devastation could be seen for miles. I mean, it was absolute. I can't imagine what those people on that beach and several other countries around the area, what they were exactly feeling that day, as they had no idea it was coming. And then once again, those waters did recede, Maria, Enrique, and the boys, they would all be in a time crunch almost, just grappling for survival. Now, both Maria and her son Lucas, they had some pretty awful injuries, especially Maria. Some of those injuries included a broken nose. Maria had a very badly torn leg that was bleeding pretty badly. Little did she know at the time, she would be bleeding in her kidneys, her bladder, and her intestines, which she would later find out. Well, her and her son Lucas, they fought tooth and nail. And I mean, it took everything in them before they found that tree to climb up, that they just were trying to keep their head above water because drowning was a very, very real thing. Elsewhere, Enrique and his 2 boys were also fighting tooth and nail just to stay above water. It was very difficult, obviously, as there was no medical supplies, there wasn't any food or clean water. And, you just got to imagine with all the wreckage floating at, who knows what kind of speeds, that stuff can knock you in your head. It can drag you under. So, I mean, you really had to be physically fit, I would think, just to keep treading water and to avoiding all of that debris and wreckage that was just floating on by constantly. Eventually, they were able to climb trees and get to higher ground, so that was a lifesaver. Now, back to Maria and her son Lucas, a Thai man who was just a local, he ended up finding them as they were just hanging in that tree. And he actually helped them. He got a little boat or canoe of some sort, and he did. He helped them out of the tree, and he helped them to safety. And it was told that, of course, Maria and her extensive injuries, she could barely walk. So he had to drag her, I don't know how long, but Maria claims it seemed forever through mud and just gunk, and he wouldn't give up on her, she said. He kept going and encouraging and just dragging her, sort of like face down, just to get her out of there and get her to any medical help if at all possible. Meanwhile, Enrique and one of his sons, Tomas, they had found a tree elsewhere, nowhere near the vicinity of Maria and the other boy, but they had found a tree, and as they were in that tree, Tomas and Enrique, they heard a voice, and it sounded familiar. Well, close by, it turned out to be the other son. His name was Simon. And, Simon, of course, was yelling for help and yelling for any of his family members, his mom, his dad, his brothers. And Enrique and Tomas just happened to hear that. Thank goodness. So they were able to get him, and, the three of them were now together, which that was a miracle in itself as well. Enrique, he was just, assuming off and on throughout this time that his wife and other son were probably dead. They didn't make it, but he wanted to know for sure. They eventually made a way to a house, and they had to get up on top of the roof for safety, and because the waters and debris were still pretty bad at that point. And he actually, Enrique had to trust people he didn't know that were also on the roof to be like, hey, can you watch my two boys while I go and look for my wife and other son? So I imagine that must be, just heart-wrenching, having to leave your children, not knowing if your other family is alive. And then if you leave them, will you see them again? Because again, all around them was just devastation. Enrique made his way to several local hospitals. He checked several. And of course, they were filled with wounded, with people that were already deceased and brought in. He just saw, I can't even describe it because I've never lived through anything like that. But I'm sure his poor heart just sunk as he looked at one hospital after the other, at body after body, trying to see, is that my wife? Is that my other son, Lucas? After not finding them at any of these places, I can't imagine. But finally, he did find Maria and Lucas, and they were at a hospital. And it was, it said he could hardly believe his own eyes when he did find them, because he was just kind of like, I'm sure he was thinking, I've searched for so long, and I was so scared they were already gone. So when he did find them, it was kind of like a double take, but obviously a very happy reunion, except for the fact that, of course, Maria had some pretty bad injuries at that time. And I think it said eventually, it was either 2 or 3 days later after the tsunami had hit, when the whole family was finally reunited together again. All in all, Maria had to spend almost 14 months in recovery, going to hospitals in Singapore and their native country, Spain. And then after, all was said and done, it said it was pretty traumatic, even after they got home, because after that traumatic day of the tsunami, what that does to you psychologically. It's said that all of the family members, sons and parents, they all slept with the light on for 6 months just because of, a PTSD type situation. And it said the littlest boy, Simon, he was the youngest, he would have nightmares for months. And he said that they were of monsters that had no eyes. And Enrique thought that was probably due to everything they saw that day back in 2004, because they did see many, unfortunately, that were already passed. And some of those bodies, he said, were missing an eye or two, that had been in the water and whatnot. And I guess hit with debris and wreckage. So, of course, a young little boy seeing that, unfortunately gave him those nightmares for several months. All in all, that tsunami in 2004, it said it killed over 230,000 people, and not just Thailand, altogether in the countries of Thailand, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and 11 other countries. Many small little towns throughout those countries, the whole thing was just swept away and non-existent after that. Maria, the mom, she claims and says to this day, as far as I could find anyway, she claims that it was all luck, that they found each other and that they all survived. However, me personally, of course, I didn't live through that, but just looking in from the outside, I don't really believe in luck. I believe that there is a higher power. God saved them and reunited them. But of course, again, that's my personal opinion. There was also a film made several years later after the incident. I've never seen it, and I didn't know it existed till I was researching this story. But the film is called The Impossible, and it was made about their survival and how they found each other and the tsunami and all that. So I'll have to check it out and see if it was good. I'm not sure if it won any awards or anything like that, but I always love a good true story. Today, Maria is still a practicing physician. She's also a motivational speaker, and she travels worldwide just giving those types of speeches and just positivity, And every year on that 26th of December, her and her family members go back to the same spot, the same resort, the same date. And she says that they go to just commemorate and just basically mourn those that did not make it that fateful day. Lucas, who was the oldest son, he went on to study medicine at the University College in London. Currently, he is also a practicing doctor. The middle son, his name was Tomas. Tomas studied at Atlantic College in Llantwit Major, Wales. He got his BS in Science, Technology, and International Affairs at Georgetown University. Tomas also enjoys raising awareness about tsunamis, and he advocates for early warning systems. Now, Simon, the youngest boy, he's now a trained lifeguard with Proactiva Open Arms. And in 2020, he was in school studying anthropology and politics. Enrique, the father, he also volunteers at the NGO Proactiva Open Arms. And the Proactiva Open Arms, it helps refugees arriving on the Greek coast from Turkey. So, all in all, it looks like they all grew up and eventually led productive lives and are happy and thriving. And what a wonderful, miraculous story. I always love hearing about these things, especially when there's some kind of disaster like that. You want to know that there are miracles and that these things happen because they give people hope and they help people to, I think, remain positive and to think about higher things, in particular about God and how he looks out for people and how he still does miracles every single day. So I don't know. What did you guys think about this story? And did you remember? I'm sure most people did, but did you remember the 2004 tsunami in the Indian Ocean? Let me know if you knew anybody that experienced it or just your thoughts in general. Remember to like and subscribe if you do like these kind of true stories that are miraculous. And other than that, guys, I just want to thank you for always watching and listening. And hopefully you have a passion too about these kinds of things and just miracles in general. Thanks again, and I will see you guys for the next one.